I'm Kemat Heteperu. Welcome back to Kemetic Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about the Ba. The Ba is one of the many aspects of the soul in the Kemetic mystery system. And as usual, I have a slightly different take on it than you'll typically find when doing conventional research. Um, Usually, when they talk about the Ba, they'll tell you that it's the part of yourself that's your personality, and it's the part of yourself that is somewhat lingers or is able to travel here and there to and fro when a person dies. Now, I've expressed before how I don't really believe Kemeticism in reality has much to do with death. Um, that's more so a misunderstanding that ended up getting grafted in and eventually becoming a bit more dominant. It has much more to do with the sciences of the astral plane and the science of the quantum realm energy in the natural world than it has to do with an afterlife. But that's another session. I've already talked about that. Check out my previous sessions. So, the Ba, what is it, right? So, the Ba is the part of the soul typically depicted as a bird with a human head, usually a falcon or a hawk or something along those lines. And it is the person's personality, it's their characteristics, right? In a way, it could be said, this is what makes you you, your distinctness. Now, I love this depiction of the Ba over the body of the mummy. Because also I don't believe that mummies have to do with the dead either. I know we have actual mummies. I know we do have dead people that are mummified. I'm not speaking against that. But on a more metaphysical, spiritual presentation, mummies as an art are more so replicating a divine reality. So I'll briefly talk about that. So with a mummy, you have a person wrapped in cloth. In fact, many people have asked me, or I've seen this question come up a lot in Kemeticism concerning the identity of certain deities. If you believe that certain deities are actually humanoid or have ever taken humanoid physical forms before, we know that Imhotep was actually a historical figure that later became deified, and people often ask, is he the only one? And I believe that concerning a lot of the Netcheru, that some of them were based on physical people at certain points in time. Some of them actually are actual spirits that have manifested themselves. My personal beliefs. Now, what does that have to do with mummies? Well, the archetype, right, when we're looking at mummification, some of the Netcheru are depicted in a mummified form. Now, if mummies have to do with the dead, then how can a Netcher, which you typically present as an energy or an aspect of divinity, how can it die? Right? And you can say that, well, it's depicted that way because they're expressing that they have some relationship to the dead or some relationship to death. And that's a valid point. I just disagree. It's okay. We just disagree in that area because when I begin to really peer into this study, I come to the belief that the reason that some of the Netcheru are depicted as mummies is because they actually did take on a physical form at some point, a tangible form, right? You have an aspect of divinity wrapped in cloth. Okay, that sounds a little familiar to those of you who've ever come through Christianity. That is the word made flesh. So, a word being an aspect of divinity and a creative spark, a divine essence wrapped in fabric, wrapped in cloth. That's you in your human body as a mummy. So, in a way, because we are all divinity wrapped in humanity, we are mummies. So, when you think about the mummification process, in a way, it's going through a physical ritual of something much more metaphysical. Hopefully, that makes sense. So, the Ba in this presentation doesn't really have anything to do with a person dying, right? The Ba, as a bird, think about the way they're depicting things. They use art to illustrate metaphor. So the Ba is the part of yourself that's able to travel away from yourself. while still carrying your personality and your characteristics. It's an aspect of your soul. This is specifically the part of the soul that is that leaves the body when you have dreams. I've often said that dreams are pretty much the way in which you invoke a dream or have a dream is that you're astral traveling. I know some people feel funny about the verbiage, but it just is what it is. A part of your soul leaves your body and you go off on adventures. That is astral travel. Soul is travel. And the ba is the part that deals with dreams and visions. It's the mobile part of your soul. And it's specifically designed to be able to travel into the astral plane or travel into the quantum field. And what I love about this specific picture is that it looks eerily similar to this depiction of astral travel, where you have both of them together. You have the person laying there, and then their soul, or this part of their soul, just above them, getting ready to go off on a journey. Now, I remember as a kid, talking about myself here, I remember as a kid, and I believe this is true with many people. I was a seer as a kid. I trained myself to see in the spirit and see in the other realms as an adult or as a teenager, and I maintain it as an adult. But one thing that I used to see all the time as a kid is that I could see people's dreams above them and watch it like I was watching TV. So when I see artwork like this, it just reminds me of my childhood and how literal this is. You don't have to be in the occult or anything like that in order to astral travel or anything like that. This is what happens automatically when you dream. Now, what is the importance of a dream? Dreams are a version of communication. Dreams, I like to say it like this, because the way the soul is designed to receive, release, and store information and process that information. Well, most of us do not live in sync with our souls, which means the only time we're open to that feedback is when we're unconscious, and that gives itself to us in the form of a visual metaphor that we know as a dream. And dreams are always some measure of communication. They're not always important, but they are communication. Sometimes your dreams are your body. Sometimes it's unresolved trauma in the soul. Sometimes it's messages via the spirit. Sometimes it's evil entities. Sometimes it's demons, could be angels. But I want to emphasize that dreams deal with communication. So when you're receiving a dream, what's happening is you go into a state where a part of your soul leaves and it goes off to check your mailbox and it starts to process information. Now, when you're healthy and you're in tune with your soul, the Ba is one with you. You don't have to leave in order to read your mail. Dreams and visions are the same things, but there comes a point where you don't even necessarily have to have your day interrupted by a vision. That you live in such a space where you're aware of quantum realities and able to perceive into the astral plane. You're always aware of information. You're always receiving your mail. Therefore, now I'll say this, that could be the reason why some of you don't dream as much, is that you're already paying attention. Therefore, when you go unconscious, you don't have mail that's trying to get your attention now. Another reason why you might be struggling to have dreams or see visions is because your Ba could be damaged. Now, why would the Ba be damaged? Let me go back to the picture that I showed here. So notice how it's depicted as a bird, right? Sometimes it's a falcon. Sometimes it's a hawk of some sorts. Sometimes it's a simple bird of prey like a kite. It's just a bird. It's not very strong. Might be fast, but the emphasis is that it's more so a bird. It's a prey animal, right? And you're going through different worlds, and let's just say a lot happens while you're unconscious that you do not remember. That while traveling through the astral plane at night in order to go have your dreams or receive your visions, the part of your soul that does that gets a little damaged. there are some wicked entities. There are some wicked beings out there. There are some dangerous places you can end up completely unconscious. This is why it's possible to go to sleep fine, have a really rough night, and wake up and you're all bruised up. That's because not that someone is attacking you physically while you're asleep, but because the aspect of your soul that goes out and travels had a rough journey. So it comes back, it reassimilates with the body, returning with the messages that it received. That includes the trauma that it might have experienced. That includes some of the damage that it might have experienced. So yes, this is a very important part, right? Many of you have a damaged ba. Your ba is damaged. The part of you that is the traveler, the journeyer, the part of your soul whose job it is to go out, gain information, process that information, and bring it back to you is damaged. This is also responsible in many ways for your inability to understand certain topics. Is because the part of you whose job it is to go out and learn is damaged. Now, I'll even say this. Oftentimes you'll see that the ba will be depicted as a bird of sort. That is not the only part, that is not the only way in which your soul or that part of your soul can appear in these different realms. You actually take on a form more appropriate to the journey that your soul is on at that time. So sometimes you'll go out and all of this is completely unconscious, right? This is happening. This has been happening your whole life, whether you receive it, believe it, accept it, or reject it. This is just true about what happens while you're asleep. So sometimes you go out and let's say you take on a form of more of a predator, right? You go out as a jackal, you go out as a wolf, you go out as a lion, a tiger, right? Something that is more so a predator animal. Well, you don't necessarily come back with damage. You come back having damaged some things. You go out and wreak havoc. You go out and protect some things. Violence isn't always detrimental. Sometimes it's protector. Sometimes that aspect of your soul is living in a more defensive protector role. Therefore, it's living a more predatory presentation. And other times, as a messenger, messengers are always supposed to be easy to receive. So you don't necessarily send a messenger with weapons. You don't send them with aggression. You send them in a modest presentation. Thus, the bird is there. Thinking of the movie 300, where the messenger goes there and the messenger doesn't have any weapons. You don't send a messenger with weapons. So that aspect of your soul, when it takes on that form, is a lot more vulnerable. And should it encounter some aggression while trying to check your mail, it can get damaged. Now, it will heal itself over time. And I'm actually going to share a method in which you can begin to heal your ba, right? Now, I'll even say this just to give you a broader understanding of the ba. You know how the Necharu are all depicted as humans or humanoid figures with animal heads, typically, right? All of the animals presented in the Necharu are options for how your soul can appear, and pretty much is different forms for different roles. Whatever your soul is trying to do and trying to accomplish, because think about it like this: your soul, your ba, has your best interest at heart. Interest at heart. Okay. I usually don't do this type of teaching, but I'll do it today. The opposite of the word ba is ab, and that is your heart in the Kemetic mystery system. So they actually have a link, is that your ba is the emissary of the ba of the ab. That the traveler part of your soul is the emissary of your heart, meaning that it goes out to fulfill your heart's desires while you're unconscious. So if you're living in a state where you have no desires and you have no ambition, your ba is very weak, which means should it suffer some damage, you will receive that damage for a while and it likely will not heal itself quickly because you have no passion in your heart. If you're a wicked person, a vile person. You have a lot of unforgiveness, a lot of bitterness, a lot of hatred in your heart. Well, that's something that can affect the way that your ba shows up in the world. Not only is this the way in which you show up in the astral plane or in the quantum world, but this is the way that people experience you when you're interacting with them. Oh, yes, your ba is always around and always connecting. You can say that your ba is what's active whenever you're having an interaction with someone else. This is the part of you that fellowships. You ask the question, why do people react to me that way? That's because your ba is showing up a certain way. So if you don't like the way that your ba is showing up, remember that it's simply the apostle of your heart. It's the prophet of your heart. It's the emissary, the ambassador of your own heart, which means if you change what's in your heart, you'll change the way that your ba appears, the way that it manifests, the way that it presents itself when interacting with other people, with other beings. Sometimes it's not so much that you have ill intentions, it's just that your heart is confused, your heart is wounded, and your ba goes out, it communicates these ideals to the world around you. It's communicating. It's doing its best to share what's on your heart. So literally all the different animals that are depicted, the lions, the crocodiles, the jackals, the falcons, all of the crocodile, like all these different animals that the Neteru depict themselves as are forms in which the Ba manifests itself. Different forms for different roles. Now, it's not, don't necessarily get too caught up in that, in the sense that you're trying to take on a specific form. That's not the point. The point is what all those different animals represent. And I'm not going to go too far into them just because there's probably going to be another session. Let me know if y'all want me to do that one. But I just want you to be aware that the quality of your heart affects the form that your ba takes on, which affects the way that you're received by other people and by other beings. And depending on the health of your ba in general, when it goes out to receive your mail for you, when it goes out to be your messenger, it can receive some damage. And the state of your heart determines how quick or how slow that healing process is. It's possible to have a ba that's immortal, that's invincible. It goes out, it receives mail perfectly. It doesn't come back obstructed or injured in any way. The message comes back unhindered. Oh, yeah, that's why you'll receive a message and forget it, is because your ba is damaged. The part that's supposed to bring you the message got damaged on its way back. There's many areas in which an unhealthy heart can lead to an ill-prepared ba, which means that you don't receive all of the messages that you're supposed to get. What if this is actually the cause of Alzheimer's? What if this is actually the cause of dementia? Maybe, right? That's a maybe. Less than a hypothesis. That's just a thought. Now, of course, I do have other sessions available on this on Patreon. So if this is a topic that has interested you, please check out my Patreon. Everything that I have is you can find out about via my website, caveofmystery.org. Also, new book just came out, Kemetic Prayers, ebook and paperback version available on Amazon and Kindle. That's it for this session. So, just to specify, how do you heal your ba? Heal your heart. Work on the quality of your heart. Search your heart and see what's in it. Find the quality of your heart. You work on that, you by default work on your ba. That's it. Y'all be blessed. Until next time. Later.